Hello, Room 6. Today we're going to look at the class project for art and we're going to be weaving. We will be weaving these little mats you see here, and when every one of us has finished theirs, we can make a blanket putting them together. Here's one of the mats. They are soft, flexible and cuddly. If you look closely, you will be able to find 4 knots on the top and 4 knots at the bottom as well. These knots come from the weaving board. Here is the weaving board we will be working with today. It has 8 slots at the top and 8 at the bottom. Count them to make sure you have 8 on each side, please. We are going to start by cutting a long string of yarn around 140–150 inches long, and then we're going to find one of the ends and gently slide it into the slot number 1 and bring it all the way across the weaving board to the slot right opposite. Then we're going to leave a bit of yarn at the back so that we can tie knots when our piece of weaving is finished. Make sure you leave around 4 inches, 6 inches at the back of each loop, and we are going to have the base of our weaving board ready when all of the strings have been put into the slots. When you reach the last slot, we're going to do the same and leave around 4 inches of a string so that we can afterwards use that to tie a knot. Our weaving board is now finished and it's ready for us to start weaving. It has 8 strings of yarn and at the back a little bit of yarn, enough so that we can make a knot once we finish our weaving. Let's start weaving. Let's find a new long piece of string of yarn. We're going to find one of the ends and gently slide it into the first slot or the 8th slot in our weaving board, being careful to leave enough at the back again so that we can afterwards tie it. We're going to go under our first string on the board and then we're going to go over the next one. Over, under, over, under, over, under, over. And when we reach the end of the board, it's important to make sure that you loop it on that string and then start weaving again in the opposite direction. We can use our fingers to gently brush our rows of the string all the way to the top. Make sure they are nice and tight there. We loop over the string and we start on the next side on our second row of weaving, and this one is opposite to the first one. So it goes over when the other one went under and under when the one on top went over. We'll do once across, and when we get all the way to the right, again we use our hands or fingers to brush it up a little bit so it's nice and tight at the top. We're going to loop it over on the right string again and go across. Please don't pull too hard because this is what happens. The strings of yarn that are stretched across the weaving board are kind of flexible. So if we pull very strongly every time we do a new row of yarn across horizontally, then we end up with this kind of shape on the strings. We want to have a square so that we can then sew them together to make a blanket. We do not want to have this type of shape where the center is very narrow and the top and bottom are wider. Okay, imagine we've completed several rows and now we want to add a new color. we're going to get the new yarn and we're going to make a double knot with the new yarn and the yarn we've already used. Make sure it's nice and tight. We knot it, and then with scissors we can get rid of the extra yarn so it's not too bumpy. We can cut it off, and after we cut it off we simply keep weaving the way we were doing before with the new piece. When we have finished all the rows we wanted to do, then we gently take out one of the loops, we cut it if it's the one at the end, and if it's the one at the end we end up with 3 threads instead of 2. So gently put 2 together, you can loop them a little bit if you want, and make a double knot. We tie it up gently, and we're going to do the same for all of the other loops in the weaving board. There we go. Make sure you take 2 at a time, and when those are finished, this is going to be the thread we're going to use to build our blanket and to tie all of our pieces from every student together to make a blanket. When all of our pieces are finished, we will arrange them into a bigger square or a rectangle. We'll see how many pieces you make, and then we're going to tie them together with the pieces of string that we have left over after tying them up, and also we'll have to sew them together next to each other like in the drawing here. For your mat you can choose one color, and you can do from start to the end choosing the same yarn, or there are 4 different types of yarn that we brought into the classroom, and you can choose to alternate this in any pattern that you wish. I think our blanket will look more interesting if every piece is different, because we are all different. So have fun choosing your colors.